When Saladin's army stood at the gates of Jerusalem, every soul inside braced for a bloodbath. Instead, they received an act of mercy that would echo through history. The man the world would come to fear and respect was born in 1137 in the town of Tikrit, in present-day Iraq. His name, Salahuddin Ayyubi. Long before he ever drew a sword, his childhood was molded by devotion, daily prayer, the verses of the Quran, and an iron discipline that would define every decision he made as a man. His rise began in the shadow of his uncle, the General Shirkuh, as both men served the powerful Turkish ruler Nur ad-Din. It was the brutal campaigns fought across Egypt that hardened the young officer into a true military commander. Even in the chaos of war, he stayed patient and controlled, letting his faith steady his hand. A bitter early defeat at the hands of Baldwin IV, the young leper king of Jerusalem, humbled him, and from that humiliation he learned the patience and strategy he'd need for the battles ahead. Then, in the summer of 1187, everything changed. At the horns of Hattin, Saladin sprang his trap, encircling the Crusader army, severing them from every source of water, then ordering his men to torch the dry summer grass, sending choking smoke and flame rolling straight into the enemy lines. Thirst and heat had already broken their will. The flames simply finished what the desert had started. Among the prisoners dragged before him were two of the Crusaders' most powerful men, King Guy of Lusignan and the notorious Reynold of Chatillon. Saladin himself handed King Guy a cup of iced water, under Arab custom, an unmistakable gesture that the king's life would be spared. But when Guy, following the same custom, tried to pass that cup to Reynold, Saladin stopped him cold. Reynold had shattered every truce he'd sworn to, raided caravans of unarmed pilgrims, and even plotted an assault on Mecca and Medina itself, Islam's most sacred ground. For those crimes, Saladin struck him down with his own hand, while King Guy, having received no such cup, walked away alive. With the Crusader war machine shattered at Hattin, the road to Jerusalem now lay wide open. When Saladin finally passed through Jerusalem's gates, a wave of awe and reverence swept over him, a moment decades of struggle had built toward. After years of war, triumph, and sacrifice, he entered not as a conqueror flaunting his power, but as a humble servant bowed before Allah. He gave the order at once. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque were washed clean with rose water, purified after decades of neglect and desecration. Only then did he kneel to pray inside Al-Aqsa himself. The people of the city had braced for a massacre. Instead, they found protection. Churches stood untouched, civilians were spared, and mercy triumphed where vengeance had been expected. In power, he remained exactly who he'd always been, simple, devout, untouched by the luxury around him. He never missed a prayer, kept Quran reciters marching alongside his soldiers, and treated his authority not as a trophy he'd won, but as a sacred trust from Allah he was bound to honor. When death took him in 1193, his coffers held so little that there wasn't even enough gold left to pay for his own funeral. History remembers few warriors, honored by friend and enemy alike. Saladin remains one of the rare few who earned that respect from both sides of the battlefield.